Right. So I think the format of this panel is going to be very similar to the format of the last panel. We do actually want to encourage a little democracy, so we're going to have 45 minutes for the panel discussion amongst ourselves, and then we'll try to open up to questions from the audience. So I think we're going to try to be strict about this, try to have the discussion mostly kept to the panel for now, and then we will open up to the audience and we can have a bit of back and forth hopefully. You're very lively, so I think it should be a good session. I'm going to let the panelists introduce themselves, just like last time with quick, maybe 2 minutes with an introductory question. I'm joined by Bruno Waterfield, Brussels correspondent for the Daily Telegraph, Gavin Towler, sorry, close enough, press officer at United Kingdom Independence Party, John Worth, who blogs at John Worth's Euroblog, and Sunny Handel, blogger with Liberal Conspiracy and Political Politics. So we're going to start off, I think we'll start down the centre of the panel. Bruno, what's the relationship between blogs and the media in Britain? And can blogs break a story on their own?
I suppose the best way, is say what's the relationship between me and the EU blogs. I'm a blogger as well. Is that I find it useful as a conversation. I'm as much interested actually in terms of the EU blogs, what the comments are on the blog. So I do actually see it as a conversation. I have to say, and I do look at the EU blogs pretty religiously. I have a long kind of daily list that I go through. Is that it's very rare for me to pick up a story from the EU blogosphere, as it's rather grandly called. And that's partly because a lot of people who are on the EU blogosphere are pursuing kind of individual interests. It's very, very eclectic, and they don't necessarily have the view that I have as a public person, but also as a reporter of seeing the authority that's vested in the European Union as something that should be contested, and that's really what reporters try to do. I'm sure we'll come back to that in the debate. So for me, the EU blogosphere is very, very important. It's a place where a conversation is going on. It's a place where people outside the usual suspects, I suppose, in themselves constitute a new load of usual suspects, are having a conversation that can be quite independent from, and also they're filtering the media. So it's lots of other pairs of eyes and lots of brains to think about things. I do think there are problems with blogs. Some of them are the problems that are shared that newspapers have as well, in terms that they can be quite lazy, they can reproduce all the pantomime elements of politics. You know, there's a federalist behind you, and all that kind of stuff. So I wouldn't celebrate it too much, and I think that one of the aspects of blogging, which I think people should probably get to grips with more, is the fact that they're really kind of atomised individuals, usually working in a non-collaborative setting. And one of the things I would be very interested in developing is how you could develop more forms of using the internet, a genuine European public space where people can start to work on projects collaboratively and independently.
I definitely want to talk about the public space angle, and I think we should maybe get into that a little later. But if I'll just go down the panel, going as a same sort of question, but from the opinion of a political party, how have blogs affected UKIP, and how do you see that changing in the future?
How have they affected UKIP? I don't think so. I would suggest that, again, as a blogger myself, but I would suggest that UKIP, a lot of the noise around UKIP is generated by blogs. Now, many of them are where UKIP stands, it has a great deal of support for its propositions within the public, but very little electoral support. So a lot of the things that one might say that's very much a UKIP perspective being written on a blog is from a blogger who would not describe themselves as UKIP. And so we have that the conversation around those ideas that we espouse is far greater than we are as a party, without a doubt. And I'm not going to pretend I haven't nicked ideas from blogs, of course I have. In the same way that I too have my list of people I try and watch every day and read every day. And once or twice I have been able to produce something there and turn it into a story.
Right. But do you feel that you rely, as a smaller party, like I mean outside of the big three, do you feel that you rely more on blogs, or do you get that media access? I mean,
oh, absolutely. Given that we did, in say, the European elections, and this is an EU blog-related discussion, the European elections became second, and yet, in this country, and yet we have 2 press offices, one in Brussels and one here, me. There's no way, as a press office, I can do the work of a proper press office.
Right.
I have to rely on the eyes and ears of those out with both the party and particularly this building to do my work. I could not do it. I don't have enough heads. I sure as hell don't have enough hands. So it is, in that sense, absolutely vital to what I do. Other people are out there looking. There is a whole range of expertise. One person I'm an absolute. I will read every time something comes up. Is someone like Ralph Grant. He has a completely different perspective on the whole story than I do, but it is wise, it is sensible, and he is not, just because he believes in the EU, he's not slavish, and he is critical. He is a critical friend of the EU, and from that I can learn stuff that I would never know otherwise. Where am I going to get that sort of expertise from? Sure as well, I'm not going to get it from the legal opinions of the European Parliament. So I do find, particularly in specific areas of policy, which I'm trying to follow, that I will get as much information from certain expert bloggers as I would do from your active.
Well, that's interesting, because especially what Bruno said also about reading religiously, I think you said, some EU blogs.